There's only one topic that I want to address today, and it was a report put together by Reuters news agency. And this report is all about how AT&T helped build and sponsor and underwrite and finance and continues to finance one of the most vile propaganda networks in this country. I'm referring to One America News. That's an AT&T operation. Who knew? Let me quote from the article. One America News, the far-right network whose fortunes and viewership rose amid the triumph and tumult of the Trump administration, has flourished with support from a surprising source, AT&T Inc., the world's largest communications company. Now, let me digress for a second. All the focus lately on Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, and the focus is absolutely required and necessary and appropriate. But we've all been running around with our hair on fire about Facebook, when for the past 3 or 4 years, or 2 or 3 years, whatever it's been, this neo-fascist, no, it's not even neo-fascist, this fascistic network, One America News, which is run and populated by Trump supporters, former members of the Trump administration, and financed, underwritten by AT&T, has been going on while we're busy screaming and squeaking about Facebook. Let me go back to this piece. A Reuters review of court records shows the role AT&T played in creating and funding One America News, a network that continues to spread conspiracy theories about the 2020 election and the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, I digress again. This is one of the reasons that I find it very difficult to maintain faith in our ability, that is, the people of this country, to stop this onslaught of fascism that is has two components: Christian madness, the religion, and predatory capitalism. And when you put the two together, you have Christian fascism. And one example of it is AT&T. Now think about all the commercials that come into our homes from AT&T. Think about all the money that AT&T collects. It is the world's largest communications company. And it is poisoning democracy deliberately, consciously, repeatedly. And we're not doing a fucking thing about it. One American News founder and chief executive Robert Herring Sr. has testified that the inspiration to launch OAN in 2013 came from AT&T executives. Herring said during a 2019 deposition that was seen by the Reuters news agency, quote, "They told us they wanted a conservative network. They had only one, which was Fox News, and they had 7 others on the other side. When they said that, I jumped to it and built one," end quote. Since that time, 2013, is that when it started? Since then, AT&T has been a crucial source of funds flowing into One America News. They provided tens of millions of dollars in revenue, according to court records. 90% of One America News' revenue came from a contract with AT&T-owned television platforms, including the satellite broadcaster DirecTV. That's according to sworn testimony by an OAN accountant in 2020. Mr. Herring, the founder, has testified he was offered $250 million for OAN in 2019. And without the DirecTV deal, the accountant said under oath, the network's value, quote, would be zero, end quote. Dallas-based, there's a surprise, AT&T, a mobile phone and internet provider, also owns entertainment giant Warren Media, which includes CNN, and HBO. AT&T acquired DirecTV in 2015 and in August spun off the satellite service, retaining a 70% share in the new independently managed company. AT&T's total U.S. television subscriber base, including satellite and streaming services, fell from 26 million in 2015 to 16 million as of this past August. AT&T spokesman Jim Greer declined to comment on the testimony about OAN's revenue streams, citing confidentiality agreements. He said that DirecTV broadcasts, quote, many news channels that offer viewpoints across the political spectrum, end quote. He added, Greer did, the AT&T spokesman, quote, we have always sought to provide a wide variety of content and programming that would be of interest to customers and do not dictate or control programming on channels we carry, end quote. Fuck you. I added the last part. Continuing with this report, although the contracts are confidential, in court filings, Herring cited monthly fees included in one 5-year deal with AT&T. According to an AT&T filing, citing Mr. Herring's numbers, those fees would total about $57 million. Greer said that figure is inaccurate, but he declined to say how much AT&T has paid to air One American News, citing a non-disclosure agreement. Herring and his adult sons. Now remember who this guy is. He's Robert Herring Sr., chief executive and founder of One American News. Herring and his adult sons own and operate One American News, a subsidiary of their closely held San Diego-based Herring Networks. Their AT&T deal includes Herring's other network, a little-watched lifestyle channel, AWE. The Herrings declined request to be interviewed. Herring, who just turned 80, is a so-called self-paid businessman who amassed a fortune in the circuit board industry and then turned to television and boxing promotion. OAN's influence rose in late 2015 when it began covering Trump rallies live at a time when some of the media still saw Trump as a long-shot presidential contender. OAN continues to shower Trump with attention and often provides a friendly platform for his Republican allies. As president, Trump frequently urged supporters to watch OAN. In his final 2 years in office, Trump touted the network to his 88 million Twitter followers at least 120 times. Trump tweeted on December 1st, hope everybody is watching OAN right now. He was citing a dubious report about a truck carrying more than 100,000 fake ballots. Other media afraid to show, Trump tweeted. The state and federal court documents reviewed by Reuters detail a lucrative relationship for OAN and AT&T. The records include a report offer by AT&T to acquire a 5% equity stake in OAN and the San Diego-based network AWE, although the two sides ultimately signed a different deal. The confidential OAN financial records are drawn in part from testimony, including by Herring and the accountant, generated during a labor lawsuit brought against OAN by a former employee and unrelated to AT&T. When the case went to trial last year, the network's lawyer told the jury that AT&T was what was keeping OAN afloat. Researchers who tracked the rise of conservative media pillars Rush Limbaugh and Fox News see similarities between those pioneers to One American News and other new right-wing networks, particularly during their formative years. Kathleen Hall Jamieson, who is the director of the Annenberg Public Policy Center at the University of Pennsylvania, said the births of Fox News and OAN share common threads, money and opportunity. She noted that the late Republican operative Roger Ailes had the foresight in the 1990s to recommend that Fox create a conservative news network. Jameson said, quote, if somebody recognizes there's a market for something and there's a lot of money attached to that market, you get a news outlet. So this is AT&T playing the Roger Ailes role. End quote. Greer, the spokesman for AT&T, called that comparison, quote, a ridiculous claim, end quote, noting the other distributors also carry One American News. America's post-election turmoil, punctuated by the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, continues to roil the country. Dozens of election administrators in battleground states Trump lost have received a barrage of death threats, Reuters has reported. A Reuters poll in May showed that a quarter of Americans and 53% of Republicans wrongly believed Trump won the 2020 election. OAN caters to this audience. Trump's loss was OAN's gain, social media data show. The network's online audience soared in November after conservative mainstay and OAN competitor Fox News affirmed Joe Biden's victory. Trump and his camp blasted Fox. A record 767,000 people then installed the OAN app that month, 9 times as many as the month before, according to data firm Sensor Tower. In January, Trump supporters, including at least one carrying an OAN flag, stormed U.S. Capitol. That month, app installs spiked again to over 500,000. The OAN website averages 8 million visits a month from desktop and mobile users, having peaked at 15 million from November through January, according to data firm SimilarWeb. 2 in 3 people on desktop computers return to the website after an initial visit, about the same loyalty rate as Fox News and Newsmax, another rival conservative news channel. One America's television ratings are harder to measure, partly because it is available in only about a quarter of the estimated 121 million TV households in the United States. Ratings services Nielsen and ComScore, which both show that Fox News continues to be the leading cable network, do not release One American News figures. In an internal email, an One American News director told staff at the week of the Capitol assault, the network had its, quote, best ever ratings, but gave no statistics. OAN says it is the 4th rated news network behind Fox, CNN, and MSNBC, and ahead of CNBC, the BBC, and Newsmax, but has not provided figures to back this up. Even so, the number of viewers that OAN reaches may be less important than the kind of observers it attracts and galvanizes. That's according to an American University journalism professor who specializes in ethics and media law. His name is John Watson. Watson said of the OAN audience, quote, if you have 12 Americans being fed a diet of untruth, that's 12 too many. And here it's literally millions. When you have that sort of poisonous influence on mass media, it's a problem. Because elections in the United States tend to be so close, a few percentage points here or there can really make a difference, end quote. Let me pause for a moment from this Reuters piece. I am trying not to put my own or overlay my own vocabulary choices as I go through this report from Reuters, and it's very difficult because these are not conservatives. None of these fuckers are conservatives. These are people who are hell-bent on destroying this country, absolutely destroying it. And the chief funder is AT&T. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.